So, Baruch Hashem, we are together again at the end of the week, learning the greatest book that was ever written besides Moshe Rabbeinu. And in truth, it could be the same person who wrote this as well. And thank God we're all together, trying to connect to the truth, trying to find something real in our life, something genuine. And we're discussing now a very controversial topic outside of Hasidic circles. And that's the concept of the tzaddik. How important is the tzaddik? What's his role in our life? How much do we need him? How much don't we need him? We had a question on Tuesday night, a great question that everybody has. As soon as they start to read Rabbi Nachman's teachings, like, wow, this is beautiful, this is amazing. And all of a sudden, the tzaddik. And you freeze. And it catches you off guard. That you need to have this tzaddik in your life who you're so deeply connected to, who Rabbi Nachman says that you should love him more than you love your own wife. I hope nobody's with their family right now. But the reason is because he brings you peace in your relationship with your wife, and he brings you wholeness in your home, and he brings you everything. And the question one of the students has is, why do we need someone like that? Why do we need somebody besides us and Hashem? And it's a great question. So I thought a lot about it. I gave an answer, a simple answer, but I think that leading up to this next part of the Torah, we're going to need to understand a little bit deeper why it's so important. And I'm hoping by the end of this class, it's going to become abundantly clear to you why we need a real tzaddik in our life, how important he is for not just us personally, but us collectively. And hopefully we'll be able to gain an appreciation for this moving forward. So the question was, why should I need anyone else to help me get my prayers answered? And that's a great question. It's a great question. And when people hear of Rabbi Nachman's teachings or any of the teachings of Chassidus, they get this feeling, this whiff of this religion that had a Mashiach of types that they believed he was, and that they need him in order to connect to Hashem, to God. And that all of a sudden, and rightfully so, makes people nervous, okay? However, the Zohar teaches that for everything that's holy, there is something that's the opposite of that looks just like it. Meaning the fact that a religion took such a concept that you need a tzaddik, that you need someone to connect to, and this is besides the fact that they actually think he's God. Nobody thinks that Rabbi Nachman is God, okay? There's one God, that's it. But this concept of having a tzaddik who you're so invested in, who is the key to you being close to Hashem, is a reality, okay? Now, in the area of tefillah, in the area of prayer, why is it so important? Why should I need him? So now I thought a lot about it, and Hashem gave me some insight, I hope, and this is what I came up with, that Hashem placed into my small brain. Okay. What is the Beit HaMikdash? We know that there's a mitzvah every night to do tikkun chatzot, to mourn over the loss of this building, this space. Some people do it, very few people do it. But even the ones who do it don't really know why they're doing it. And even the ones who know why they're doing it, they don't feel while they're doing it. Why is it such a big deal that we have to constantly mourn the loss of the Beit HaMikdash? Why is it that even on Shabbat, you have a mitzvah d'oraita to be happy on Shabbat, to have oneg on Shabbat? That Rabbi Nachman says you have to be happy the whole Shabbat. You have to be. And all of a sudden, you're saying Birkat HaMazon, you're saying the blessing after you eat, and you have to, in the middle of the Shabbat insertation, remember that the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, and we're not completely happy yet. What is the deal with the Beit HaMikdash? Why is this such a big deal? So I want to take you back, okay? The Ramban, who is probably the second most famous commentator of the Torah, explainer of what's going on in the Torah besides Rashi. Whereas Rashi is looking only to give you the simple explanation of what's going on, the Ramban is often looking to fill you in on much deeper themes that are taking place, much deeper dynamics that are happening. One of his most famous ones is when he explains why we need to learn the book of Bereshit. Why do we even need to learn the first book of the Torah? Because if you believe in Hashem and you believe that the Torah is real, so then why do you need to know stories about all of these people, our grandparents, our great-grandparents? How does that affect us? Like Rashi says, just tell us the mitzvah. Tell us what we need to do. Often, like my students say, stop explaining to me why it's true. Just tell me what Rabbi Nachman wants me to do, so I can go do it and I can go help myself. So the Ramban has an amazing answer. And this answer is very famous and everybody knows it. And that is that whatever happens to the forefathers is a portent, is a sign for what will happen to his children. Who are the children that the Ramban is referring to? And the answer is the Jewish people in Mitzrayim, in Egypt. That we were enslaved in Egypt for what was supposed to be 400 years. And everything that took place there from the beginning and to the end was encompassed within the lives of our great-grandfathers. And therefore, to be able to understand why we went into Mitzrayim, the whole experience of Mitzrayim, and how we were to leave Mitzrayim, we first had to understand what happened to Abraham, to Yitzchak, to Yaakov, to Yosef and his brothers, until Mitzrayim. Okay, great. So that means, in fact, we only learn the whole first book of the Torah in order to understand the second book of the Torah, which is Shemot, which is the Jews' galut in Mitzrayim, their slavery, their exile outside of the land in Mitzrayim, and their geula, their redemption from Mitzrayim to and on the way to Eretz Yisrael. Okay, great. The Ramban says something very interesting now, and he adds to this. You would think that the Jews were free when they left Mitzrayim. However, the Ramban says they were not free when they left Egypt. Egypt is a code word for secular society. They were not free when they left secular life. They were still slaves. So when were they free? So the Ramban has a chidush nifla, an unbelievable chidush, that the Jewish people were not free until the Mishkan was built, which only happens at the end of Shemot. And at that point, they achieved the purpose of going down to Mitzrayim. And then they were free. Why? Because in the Mishkan, the root word is Shchen, for the Shekhinah. It was the place where the Shekhinah, the revelation of godliness, could take place down in this physical world. That was in the Mishkan. And when that was finally built and they were revealed to the Jewish people, then they were finally free for good. So that means in essence like this. The only reason that we learn anything in the Torah for the first two books of the Torah, and the reason why everything took place from the beginning of creation until the Jewish people were in the desert, was only so that the Mishkan should be created. What's so special about the Mishkan? That's the whole reason that for thousands of years, every event that took place, every leaf that turned, every relationship that swung, every single event that took place was only so that the Jewish people can achieve freedom by experiencing the Shekhinah in the Mishkan. Everything. So to understand this, we need to look at the Zohar. Because the Zohar says, why did Hashem create the world? Why did he create creation? Why did he create all the spiritual worlds and this physical world? The Zohar has an answer that's very famous, and the reason why everybody knows it is because the Tanya brings this down. And that is, Hashem created the universe only to have a dwelling place below. that he should create a physical world that is completely antithetical to him, that is completely opposite to him, that it's physical, that it's coarse, that it is dark, that is imminent, present. And he wanted to take himself, which is transcendent, which has no limits, which has no understanding, which has no end. And he wanted to constrict himself and to draw it down into the physical world so that he can be revealed in this place. This was Hashem's whole reason for creating everything. That we should find a way to create a space for him in this physical world, that his Shekhinah should be revealed. That he should be revealed. Okay. And when that happens, we're free. We're completely free. What happened with the Mishkan? It was taken from place to place to place to place to place. It was a transitionary home. But ultimately, there was a boy who came along. His name was David. And David had a dream that this Mishkan, that this dwelling place for Hashem below should not be temporary anymore, but he should have a home forever. And in this way, maybe in a way David didn't even realize that his dream was actually the whole reason that Hashem created everything, was to have a dwelling place below permanently. And David was taught by a man named Shmuel Hanavi. Shmuel was so great that they compared him as being equal to both Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron HaKohen together. That the rabbis, the sages teach he was as great as both of them. And that was David's teacher. And David took this dream all the way, to the extent that he got all of the material they needed for the Beit HaMikdash. They got all of the land that they needed. He bought a plot of land in the city called Jerusalem, and he made the blueprint for this place, this space with Shmuel Hanavi. And at the moment that he was going to build it, which was the purpose of creation, Hashem told him, you're not going to build it. Very similar to Moshe Rabbeinu, that Moshe, his whole life's mission was to take the Jewish people out of slavery and to bring them into the land of Israel. And he did everything to make that happen. And the very last step, Hashem said, you're not the one to do it. The same exact thing happened to David. That David's whole goal was actually Hashem's whole goal. And at the very moment he was actually going to bring the whole thing into actualization, Hashem said, you're not going to do it, your son is going to do it. And he did. And Shlomo Melech built the Beit HaMikdash, and he reigned there as king. And for the first time in history, the Shekhinah had a permanent dwelling place in this world, in a home. The home is called the Beit HaMikdash. What was the effect of that? All the Jewish people were wealthy. People are constantly praying that they should have money, that they should have this, they should have that, so they can support their families, so they can live this life that they want to live, so they shouldn't be limited. You know what you're really praying for? You should be praying for the Beit HaMikdash. Because the reason we don't have wealth is because there's no Beit HaMikdash. What else happened when the Beit HaMikdash was there? We had no sovereignty besides Jewish sovereignty. We were no longer under the authority of non-Jewish nations. For the first time in history, we were completely free. Only Shlomo Melech was king, meaning only Hashem was king. And we didn't have to answer to anyone. How many of us feel entrapped? How many of us feel shackled by society? How many of us want to be free? So what you should really be praying for is the Beit HaMikdash. How about peace? Anybody feel there's not enough peace in their home? Anybody feel there's not enough peace in this world? There's not one day that goes by that people are not murdered and stolen from. That there's not genocides that you don't even hear about on the news. They're only busy talking about, you know what. And yet there's genocides going on in the world country. You have murder and rape and incest. There's no peace between nations, no peace between people, no peace between husband and wife, no peace within ourselves. And when you pray to Hashem that you should have peace, you should be praying for the Beit HaMikdash. Because for the first time in history, when the Beit HaMikdash was built, there was peace in the whole world. Means that every single thing that we're looking for in our life that's missing is in that home that David spent his whole life trying to build, and that his son ultimately did build. That building was destroyed due to the errors of the Jewish people, due to the errors of Shlomo Melech. And we went into exile again for 70 years. And after certain miracles that took place with Mordechai and Esther, we came back and we built the second one. And it was there for hundreds of years. Ultimately, it was destroyed. And the Romans destroyed Jerusalem and they destroyed Israel. And we were exiled for good for 2,000 years now. So it means, in essence, everything that's missing in this world is missing because the Beit HaMikdash is not here. That's the real reason. You don't have peace in your home because the Beit HaMikdash is in here. You don't have money because the Beit HaMikdash is not here. You don't have truth in your life because the Beit HaMikdash is not here. Because the purpose of creation is not taking place. And that's why the sages say that in any generation it's not rebuilt, it's like you destroyed it. Because we have a big stake in it being built. And we know that we're the final generation. And therefore we need it now. And we need to be the cause of that. How are we going to do that? So now there's a huge machloket. You ready? How are we going to build this Beit HaMikdash? Now that we know that the cause of all the problems in the world because the Beit HaMikdash is not here, and if it was here, we would have the solution to all issues, personal, collective, global. How is it going to be built? So the Rambam says clearly in Halacha, the Jewish people are going to go to the land of Israel, and they are going to use their physical hands and build that building, and build that home. And it's going to be there forever. Okay, great. One issue. Rashi, the most famous commentator in the Torah, comes along and he says, not like that. Rashi says, Hashem is going to build it. As opposed to the first two Beit HaMikdashes, which we built, the reason why this one's going to last forever is because Hashem is going to build it. And it's going to come down whole, complete. So this is a huge stira. This is a huge contradiction. And there's it's very difficult to kind of like put this one under the rug and say, okay, you know, Elu ve'elu, they're both right. Because those are two completely different means. Either we're building it And if we are, we need to know we're going to build it. But if Hashem's building it, so we're not building it, so we need to know how to build it. Because everything is dependent on it. Because we're not going to be free until we have the Beit HaMikdash. Listen to what Rabbi Nachman says now. I want everybody to listen very carefully. Because this is so important. This is so powerful. This is so vital and essential. And it's something very few people know. You need to live with what we're going to say tonight for the rest of your life. Every single prayer that's prayed by the Jewish people, by every Jewish man, by every Jewish woman, by every Jewish child, by every Jewish elder, every tefillah, every prayer that comes out of your mouth, no matter how small, no matter how big, it becomes another limb of the Shekhinah. What are we all waiting for? We're waiting for the revelation of the Shekhinah. All problems are caused because the Shekhinah is not here. It's not revealed. It is hidden. What is the Shekhinah? It is all of the prayers of the Jewish people over the course of history. Again, listen to what we just said. We're all waiting to experience the Shekhinah. What is the Shekhinah? If you took all of the prayers of the Jewish people over time from the beginning until the end, that is called the Shekhinah. Shehem Evrei Mishkan. They are the limbs of the Mishkan. We just explained that the whole cause of all dysfunction in the world is the fact that there is no dwelling place below for Hashem. That is the Mishkan. How do we build the Mishkan? Rabbi Nachman says now that Rashi and the Rambam are both right. We do build it like the Rambam says. We are going to build it ourselves. How do we do that? Every single prayer that comes out of your mouth is another brick in that building. However, you do not see those bricks. Where do they go? They go above. And Hashem is taking every single one of those bricks and He is building the Beit HaMikdash. And when the building is done and complete, He is going to bring it down whole. So they're both right. Every single time you open your mouth and talk to Hashem, whether you get answered, you don't get answered. Whether you feel connected, you don't feel connected. Whether you can concentrate or you can't concentrate. Whether you feel whole or you feel like crap. Every single one of those prayers is building the Beit HaMikdash. But you don't see those bricks. And therefore we're all in despair. But that building is being built. Every single time you open your mouth and you talk to Hashem, there is another brick in that building. And in the end, we're going to see that every Jewish woman that cried for the past 2,000 years with the Tehillim in their hand at the Kotel, praying that the Beit HaMikdash should be built and hadn't seen it, those prayers are getting answered. All of our prayers are getting answered. You just don't see it. But the Beit HaMikdash is the Shekhinah. And we are building it through each of our prayers. However, this is the essence of the Devekut with the Tzaddik, the attachment to the Tzaddik, and now you're going to finally know forever why it's so important. She'en shum echad meYisrael zachu la'ala shayafa v'shayafa kol chad deduchtek. That when the Jewish people built the Mishkan, which we know is a microcosm for the Beit HaMikdash, that however we built the Mishkan is how we're going to build the Beit HaMikdash. And every single Jew was involved in that project. Whoever out of their heart's desire wanted to contribute. And we're learning now those contributions were with their prayers. However, not one of them was able to put the Mishkan together. They had to bring their donations to Moshe. Ele Moshe Bilchud. Only Moshe could build the Mishkan. Only Moshe knew where to take every single piece that they gave him and put it in the right position. And therefore, because of this, every Jewish person needs to attach all of their prayers to the tzaddik of the generation, to the tzaddik emet. Because just like the Jewish people, no matter how powerful those prayers were, no matter how genuine they were, no matter how much Hashem loved it, no matter how much Hashem connected to it, no matter how much Hashem wants to answer those prayers, the goal for the prayers is to build the Mishkan, is to build the Beit HaMikdash. And there is no one who's capable of understanding where all of these prayers go to build the Shekhinah except for Moshe Rabbeinu, who we learned is the Mashiach, the tzaddik of the generation. Because only he is capable of knowing where every piece goes. Like it says, the pasuk says explicitly, "V'yaviu et hamishkan el Moshe." They brought the Mishkan to Moshe, meaning they brought all of their prayers while they were suffering in the desert, in the Midbar, meaning in Chutz La'aretz, in exile. In their suffering after leaving their secular life in Mitzrayim and trying to finally get to Eretz Yisrael, trying to connect to their true self, trying to have peace in their life, trying to have happiness in their life. And they're all praying, crying to Hashem. They brought that Mishkan, which the Jewish people built, to Moshe. Because he was the only one who knew how to take each piece and to create a complete structure from what they brought him, from their prayers. Like the pasuk says, "V'yakem Moshe et Mishkan." Moshe established the Mishkan. It wasn't his pieces. It was the pieces of every single Jew who volunteered, which was every single one of them. There was not one Jewish man or woman who did not contribute. But they were not able to put it in its proper place. Only Moshe Rabbeinu is able to do that. Only Mashiach is able to do that. Only the Tzaddik Emet is able to do that. Now listen to this. Someone asked Rav Natan, Rav Nachman's main student, what's better? A person who mamish becomes a tzaddik in his own right. He becomes a great person. He reaches the highest spiritual levels. Or a simple Jew who attaches himself to a real tzaddik. Listen to Rav Natan's answer. When the Jewish people brought their pieces to build the Mishkan, no matter how great they were, no matter how not great they were, no matter how smart they were, no matter how talented they were, no matter how charismatic they were, no matter how incapable or unintelligent they were, none of them were able to build the Mishkan unless they gave it to Moshe. That means that if you were a simple Yid who didn't know anything, but you gave your piece to Moshe, or you were a person who mamish became great in your own right, but you didn't bring your piece to Moshe, whose piece got in the Beit HaMikdash? Whose piece got in the Mishkan? Only the simple Jew who brought his peace to Moshe, the one who didn't, did not get included in the Mishkan. This is not a drush. This is not an exposition. This is not a deep Kabbalistic understanding. This is a fact. Unless they brought that thing to Moshe, it was not part of the Mishkan. However, if you brought anything to Moshe, it became the piece that was part of the pieces that built the Beit HaMikdash, the Mishkan, that if it wasn't there, the Mishkan wouldn't be built. So a simple Yid who brought his little tiny whatever he could took on tremendous importance because he attached himself to the Tzaddik Emet, to Moshe Rabbeinu, and gave him his piece. Now, let's go back a second. Why do we need a tzaddik when we pray to Hashem? Does anybody know the answer now? Because we don't know where those prayers go. We don't know where they go. And you can pray intensely, and you can pray with all your heart. And it's so important, and it's so beautiful. But we don't know where to put the prayer. We don't know. And it's not our fault that we don't know. We simply were not given that role. But there is one person who is always there. One soul. This soul of Mashiach that's in every generation, he knows where every prayer goes. And by simply saying to Hashem, before you pray, Hashem, attach me to the true tzaddikim who are alive today, whoever they are. Because I don't know who they are. The true tzaddikim who are buried in the ground, I also don't know who they are. And to the tzaddik Yesod Olam, to the Nachal Novea Makor Chochma, to Rabbi Nachman ben Fega. And when you do this, even if your prayer is weak, even if you're still Pagama Brit, even if you're not giving tzedakah, that prayer goes into the Beit HaMikdash. It goes to its right place. V'chol HaTorah she'adam lomer lishmor v'lasot. Now, and this is an idea that Rabbi Nachman is constantly discussing. And this is very clear in Chazal. In Pirkei Avot it says, when you learn, why should I be learning? Many people learn because geshmak, because it's fun, because it's interesting. Rabbi Nachman says, don't learn for that reason. You know why? Because his great-grandfather said not to do that either. The Baal Shem Tov said explicitly, don't learn except to be closer to Hashem. You shouldn't be learning because geshmak, even though it is geshmak. But that's not the reason you should be learning. Why should you be learning? To do. Where did the Baal Shem Tov get this from? It's in Pirkei Avot. It says clearly there, if you learn just to learn, then you'll know. If you learn to teach, you'll be able to know yourself and to give it over. But if you learn it just to do whatever you're learning, then you'll be able to know it, to teach it, to safeguard it, and to actualize it in your life. So it's explicit, it's clear that the sages wanted us when we learned that our mindset should always be, I'm learning right now in order to do this, in order to bring this Torah into my life, in order to get closer to Hashem through this. And so Rav Nachman says now, when you learn for that reason Torah, when you're learning any Torah for that reason, then the letters which you're learning, which are really sparks of souls, V'hem nitlabshim b'tocha tefillah. I'm going to explain it, okay? So 1 second. They are enclosed within your tefillah. V'nitchadshim sham b'chinat ibor. And they are renewed in the concept of pregnancy. Okay. If anybody's mind is spinning right now, has no idea what's going on, let's deal with this for a second, okay? We're going to have to probably move also into the beginning of next week. I remember the first time I taught this to my guys, it was a very long few days to try to understand what was happening, okay? But Bezrat Hashem, should ask Hashem right now, Hashem, please help me to understand this very, very, very deep idea that Rabbi Nachman is bringing down, which is really the key to why Rabbi Nachman says, turn Torah into tefillah. So really what he's going to say now is the whole reason he taught the first 2 Torahs to begin with. What is the Torah? Adam, man. Adam Arishon is called Torah. When Adam sinned, his soul exploded into many pieces. Each of those pieces then went throughout all of the spiritual universes and into the physical universe. Every single soul alive today is a spark of Adam. How do we retrieve those sparks? How do we bring those sparks back together again? Because we know it's very clear from Kabbalah and Chassidut that we need to get back to the state of Adam Arishon before he sinned. That means Adam needs to come back together again. That means all the souls which fell need to be rectified and brought into a unity. How do we do that? The answer is the Torah and Adam are one. That all of the souls of Klal Yisrael are another letter in the Torah. When you're reading Torah and you think you're just reading wisdom, you're not just reading wisdom. Every single letter in the Torah that you're reading, when you're reading it in order to do it, which is a big, interesting chiddush. Not if you're just learning, but if you learn in order to do what you're learning, to bring it into your life, then every single letter that you're reading is actually a spark of souls which need tikkun, which need rectification, which need to be elevated. All of the letters, why? Because they're sparks of souls. What happens to those sparks of souls? So if you're learning something in order to do it, how do you actually do it? So Rabbi Nachman says you do it by taking that Torah that you learn and praying to actualize it. Let's say tonight you're learning that you need to attach your prayers to the tzaddik emet, to the true tzaddik, because only he knows how to put them in the right place so that we can have the Mishkan, so we can have the Beit HaMikdash, so all the things you want in your life will get answered. Okay, great. How do I even begin to do that? The answer is you need to go into your Hipodadut and you need to say to Hashem, Hashem, I learned tonight in Likutey Moharan some concepts that are beyond my understanding. Hashem, help me to actualize these things in my life. Help me to connect to the true tzaddik. Help me to bring him my prayers. Help that all of my prayers go up and he is able to take them and to build that Mishkan, to build that Beit HaMikdash, so that every prayer goes to its proper place. Hashem, please help that every prayer of every Jewish person goes to this tzaddik so he can build the Beit HaMikdash. That's called turning the Torah you learned into tefillah. And when you do that, it becomes real. What's the reason? Because Torah, like souls, only exists in potential. Right? We're saying now that all of the 600,000 letters in the Torah are really the 600,000 souls of the Jewish people. Every letter is another soul. But souls can't be revealed except through a body. You can't experience a soul as it is because it only exists in potential. How do you get to experience the Jewish soul? It needs to be manifest. It needs to be actualized. It needs to be revealed. What's our mechanism? What is our weapon to reveal what's hidden, what's in potential? Our mouths. So when you take the Torah that you learn, which are souls of Jewish people, and you pray, and you turn it into a prayer, you actually are rectifying the souls of the Jewish people. It's hard to understand on paper why Rabbi Nachman was insistent that Rav Natan turned all of the Torah that he learned from him and turned it into tefillah. But now we're understanding that the Torah, which is perfect, which represents the souls of all the Jewish people, but only exists in potential. We need to make a dwelling place below for that. How do we do that? We need to talk it out. We need to say it. We do hitbo. What are you doing in your hitbodedut? You should take the Torah that you learn and turn it into a prayer. Because when you do that, you actualize what you're learning. And that's the whole purpose for why you're learning, and then you're rectifying the souls of the Jewish people. And he says, and then they are renewed in the aspect of pregnancy. What is he talking about? So within the sefirot, within the spiritual lights or luminaries, there's 10 spiritual emanations of godliness that are in this world. Only 10. One is called love. One is called strength. One is called truth. These are revelations of godliness. These are the 10 revelations that are in this physical world. There is one sphera which is called Binah. Binah is the highest female sphera. And Binah, according to Kabbalah, is really a womb. It's a spiritual womb. How do you access that womb? How do you get in contact with that womb, which is actually above the physical world? Which is actually where all godliness comes from. All revelations of truth and peace and love and justice, of wealth, they all come from the sphere of Binah, this upper womb, this transcendent womb. How do we access that? So Rabbi Nachman's teaching a very practical way to do that. When you take Torah that you learn, and you're learning it in order to bring it into your life, and then you go into your hitbodedut, and you turn the Torah that you learned into a tefillah that you should experience what you learned, that you should bring it into your life and into the lives of those around you. What you're doing is you're taking Jewish souls, which are the Torah that you learned. You're placing them in your mouth. And your mouth is like a womb. And then those souls that need tikkun are then rectified within your mouth. And then they're brought up to this place called Binah, and they are renewed and come back down. And they are rectified. And then we're closer to redemption and closer to Geula. Because the whole reason we haven't experienced redemption yet is because there's more Jewish souls that need rectification, that need tikkun. There are many big mekubalim. There was one I read, something unbelievable. I don't usually read these things, but Hashem had me see this one. He said, in truth, Mashiach should have come on Pesach. However, there are some very, very lofty souls who are praying that not one Jewish soul should be left behind. Because if Mashiach comes, we stay the way that we are. Whoever made it makes it, and whoever doesn't, doesn't. And there are certain Jewish souls that are praying every day that not one Jew should be left behind. And for that reason, Mashiach is not here yet. So how do we bring those souls back? How do we awaken Jewish souls across the world that out of nowhere they have experiences like us, crazy experiences, that all of a sudden we wake up one day or something happens and we realize, wow, there's a Shem. How do we affect that? The answer is learn your Torah in order to do it. And that means take the Torah that you learned and go into your Bodedut and turn it into prayer. And when you do that, you are arousing Jewish souls which need rectification and bringing them tikkun. And then they are revealed. And then we are closer to the Mashiach being here. We're closer to the Beit HaMikdash being built. We're closer to the ingathering of the exiles. We're closer to Geula. Does anybody have any questions from tonight's class?
Yeah, the question is, Rabbi, so if we're praying, we have to attach ourselves to Tzaddik. And when we do his body, do we attach ourselves to Hashem or to the Tzaddik as well?
The whole point of being attached to the Tzaddik is to be attached to Hashem. You're not ever not trying to be attached to Hashem. The whole goal is to be attached to Hashem. However, we're learning that, so to speak, for your prayers to affect global change, only the tzaddik can take your prayer and put it into the Beit HaMikdash that's going to be built.
Your advocate.
So, what's that?
Tzaddik is your advocate, meaning like your lawyer.
Yes, he is your lawyer, and he is the only architect who knows how to put the prayer in the proper place. Now, obviously, Hashem knows how to also, but Hashem only designated, it was his goal in mind to have one person in every generation who knew how to do that. Now, when you come to pray, whenever you pray, and this isn't even just when you pray, but specifically when you pray, whether it's Hipodadut, or whether it is the Amidah, or whether you're saying Tehillim, you should always say, Hashem, please attach my prayers to the true tzaddikim, whoever they may be in this generation, the true tzaddikim who are buried in the earth, and to the tzaddik Yesod Olam, to Rabbi Nachman ben Fega. And now the point of that is so that you should be closer to Hashem, that your prayers should go to the place they need to go to. Because we're learning now that even if you're Shmirat Brit, even if you're not wasting seed, which we're saying is the key to getting your prayers answered, but it doesn't mean they're going to the right place. Only the Tzaddik Yesod Olam, only the one who is the Mashiach of the generation, has rectified mishpat, has rectified justice, which we learned about in the past classes. Meaning that he has completely clear vision. He is able to see very clearly how the world works, how peace is going to come into this world, how truth is going to come into this world, how your prayers are most effectively going to be answered. And therefore, by attaching yourself to these true tzaddikim, you guarantee that your prayers, no matter how strong, no matter how weak, no matter whether you are steiging or whether you are failing, those prayers will be put up in the proper place. Does that make sense, Emil?
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay. Any other questions?
I had a good I don't know if you want to hear it.
I do want to hear it. Let me just make sure nobody else has questions. Nobody has any questions. Should have questions. If you're learning in order to do, you should always have questions. One simple question is, how can I take what I just learned now and bring it into my life? If you don't ask that question after every class, you are cutting yourself short tremendously. Because this Torah, while it is transcendent, while it is inspirational, while it is fire, straight fire, it is not going to help you if you're not learning it in order to do it. So anybody have any questions? You could text down at the bottom if you don't want to say it. Okay, Benny, let's hear your chidush.
Talking about the bricks earlier, right? It said that Rambam says that we build the Beis Hamikdash, and Rashi says that Hashem brings it down, right? And
Yes, based on a midrash.
Nachman says it's both. It's not a
Rav
steer.
Nachman says it's not a steer. They're both right.
Maybe part of the reason why it's so difficult in life is because we're the ones carrying those bricks. It's a burden. Cop the idea?
Yes. Beautiful.
Not a construction worker.
And this is something that you should know, okay? I'm trying not to get emotional now because this is
I know.
if you don't think your prayers are getting answered, they are. If you feel like you're not being heard, you are. Every single one of your prayers are building the Beit HaMikdash. And every tear that you shed is another brick. Every hour that you spend with Hashem is another room. And when we are complete, whatever is that final prayer, it's going to come down. So no matter what happens in your life, no matter what is going on in your life, no matter whether you feel like you're heard or you're not being heard, you don't realize what you're doing when you pray to Hashem. You don't realize. Rabbi Nachman said, my whole mission is tefillah. Doesn't mean that he didn't teach that you need to learn Torah. He does. He says, to make your prayers effective, you need to learn. But your whole mission is tefillah. Because tefillah brings redemption. Because tefillah brings the Beit HaMikdash. Because tefillah brings world peace. Because tefillah brings truth into the world. Because tefillah rectifies souls. He said, my whole mission is tefillah. And the question that my students have had, that everybody has, is if it's so important, then why is nobody talking about it? Why is it scoffed at that you should want to pray for hours instead of doing something else? Why would a person ever take an hour out of his day every day and go into the woods and to cry his heart out to Hashem? Why don't you do something more responsible, like go work? Why don't you go learn Torah? And Rabbi Nachman's answer is, look at the Gemara in Brachot. It brings a pasuk from Tehillim. I believe it's from Zion. And it says there, the pasuk says, that which is truly valuable is despised. And the Gemara in Brachot says, what is this talking about? What is this pasuk talking about? And the Gemara says, it's talking about tefillah, which Brachot in the Gemara, it says that it is resting in the highest place in the universe. That there is nothing higher than tefillah. That is what it says in Masechet Brachot. So it's not a Hasidic Chiddush. It is not a Chiddush of the Baal Shem Tov. It is not a Chiddush of Rabbi Nachman. It is Chazal. That tefillah is hovering in the highest place in existence. And the reason why nobody treasures it, that nobody believes in it, that nobody values the people who are teaching it, the answer is because in this world, what is truly valuable is scoffed at, is laughed at. Rav Natan didn't understand why everybody laughed at Rabbi Nachman. He didn't understand why other great spiritual masters scoffed at him. And Rabbi Nachman told him, do you know why nobody takes me seriously? Because my whole mission is tefillah. My whole mission is prayer. And anybody who wants to teach prayer is going to be laughed at. Because the Gemara says that whatever is the highest thing is completely scoffed at in this world. But Rabbi Nachman says in the end, in the final generation, everyone is not going to be scoffing at me anymore. They're going to need me. Why? Because we're not going to get that Beit HaMikdash. We're not going to get Mashiach. We're not going to have the ingathering the exiles. We're not going to have an end to all of the shtiyot, all of the craziness that's going on in the world, until every single Jew is outside screaming to Hashem. There is no solution for our problems anymore, except for to talk to Hashem. And in the end, we need the tzaddik emet to teach us how to pray. And how does he teach us how to pray? He teaches us how to pray by teaching us the truth and by encouraging us and admonishing us and demanding of us that we take this Torah that he's teaching us and turn it into prayer. So much so that his main student, Rav Natan, created an entire sefer, an entire book, where he took all the Torah Rabbi Nachman and turned it into prayer. And Rav Natan himself said, if you only knew how many souls are going to Gan Eden because I wrote this book. And what's the reason? Because the rectification of the souls of the Jewish people is dependent on your taking Torah and turning it into tefillah. Taking what you learn and praying to actualize it in your life. Like Rabbi Nachman says, the book is called Likutey Tefillot. In English, it's called the 50th Gate.
Now, what the two trees are? Eitz Chaim and Eitz Dat. One is Torah, one is Tefillah. Throwing that out there.
Not exactly. Not exactly. Not exactly. However, the highest part of the tree of life is called tefillah. The tree of life itself is called Torah. The tree of Da'at, the Torah, is secular wisdom, which has both good and bad. The tikkun is dependent on your mouth. Take what you're learning and learn it to do it. Every day in your Hibodadu, take what you learn in these classes, and whether you understand it or you don't understand it, take it to Hashem. Whether you want it in your life or you don't want it in your life, ask Hashem that you should have it or that you should want to have it. I promise you, at least in my personal life, the whole reason for all of the growth that I've had in the past few years is because every day, no matter what is going on in my life, no matter whether it's pleasant or whether it is brutally difficult, I take what I learn, and whether I want it or I don't care about it, I say to Hashem, Hashem, please help me to experience this in my life. Help me to live according to this truth. Help me to feel this in my life. I give this example all the time. Something like Yira, awe of Hashem. I had no connection to this concept at all. But I said to Hashem, Hashem, please, Rabbi Nachman says it's so important. So help me to want to have yirah. That prayers rectify souls of Jewish people because it's true. And because it's coming out of your mouth. Every single time that you pray, those are Jewish souls in your mouth if you're saying Torah that you learned. And the tikkun for those souls, when you have a random secular person in California or New York who goes to a Chabad, who goes to a Uman, and has a revelation of godliness in their life, and they realize Hashem exists, it's because another Jewish person somewhere in the world prayed with Torah in his mouth. We all need redemption. We all need geula. Personal, collective. We need that Zion should return to its glory. That Yerushalayim should be rebuilt. It all happens through your mouth. So invest everything you have in turning Rabbi Nachman's Torah into tefillah, and you will bring the redemption. Thank you, everybody. Have an amazing, amazing Shabbat. Bezrat Hashem, I'm really hoping maybe even next week we will be in Zion and doing these classes in a very mini level. Maybe 10 people, I don't know. We have to figure out. I have to find out if the building is ready. I have to find out if people are willing to come. I have to find out the health code situation. However, regardless, hopefully it's soon, and that's something you should be praying for as well. There's a lot of amazing things that are taking place right now. Even though it doesn't look like it on the outside, there's something very deep that's changing on the inside. And we're very, very close. So please just hold on and just give your heart to Hashem in prayer every day. And you will bring the Mashiach very soon. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.